Hello everyone, welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to be doing an oil change on my 2.7 liter 2024 Ford Ranger. I'm going to be using an oil extractor for this. I know this works on the 2.7 because I've already done one change on this truck, but I don't believe it works on the 2.3. I'm not sure about the 3 liter in the Raptor. The benefit to using an oil extractor is I don't have to go into the truck. I have a lift, but this is still way easier, especially since the oil filter is on top of the motor in the 2.7 liter. One important thing to note, if you're going to use an oil extractor, you do want to have recently driven the vehicle. You want the oil warm so it extracts easy, and it'll also make sure that everything is nice and mixed up so that you pull out any contaminants or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and move some things around and we'll get started. The first step is going to be to remove both the oil fill cap set that out of the way, and then you're also going to need to remove the dipstick itself. With the filler cap and the dipstick removed, I'm going to go ahead and insert the smallest tube for my oil extractor down in through the dipstick hole. This may take a couple of tries once you start putting some suction to it, but you basically need to feed it pretty much down till you get some resistance down near the bottom. Alright, so I may have hit the bottom there. One of the biggest challenges with doing an oil extractor on a truck like this is just the height. You just need something that you can put your extractor up on. At this point, I'm just going to start pumping this up. Typically I use about 15 pumps or so to get started. Not sure if you can see it, but I've already got oil coming up the line and into the container. This is about a 6 or 7 quart or liter pellet extractor. I've had this for a really long time, but each of these is about a quart, so you'll know it's done when it gets up to this top ring here. It may take a couple of times to reposition this, and I may have to pump this up a couple more times, but we're going to go ahead and let it work for a few minutes while I prep getting ready to remove the filter. At this point I have most of the oil out with the extractor. It's still working in the background, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the filter. This is a 27mm hex. You do want to wait till most of the oil is out of the system. Just helps make sure you don't have a big mess when you go to remove this. Obviously a good idea to have a paper towel handy. Not sure how well the camera's picking it up, but we basically are we're at every bit of 6 quarts here. You may or may not be able to hear kind of a sucking air in. I'm going to give it a couple more pumps. Move the nozzle up and down a little bit. And make sure that it has had a chance to pull all the oil out. Alright, I actually did run out of room in my extractor. This extractor may be a little bit smaller than I thought it was, but I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of additional pressure, move the line around, and just make sure I get every last bit of oil out. Yeah, there's still just a little bit in here. And you can, if you start hearing it suck air and you don't think you've got all the oil out of it, if you just move the hose up and down a little bit inside, you'll get a little bit more out. One additional advantage of using the oil extractor is there's actually some oil left over in the filter cavity when you remove the filter on this top side cartridge motor. With the extractor, you can actually go in here and suck this oil out as well, something that would not normally get removed. Real quick, actually replacing the filter. Filter is simply removed. There are 2 O-rings. There's one here as well as one small one here. It helps to have some kind of a pick. Ideally, actually there's 3 O-rings. There's 2 at this end and 1 at this end. The small one is a little challenging to remove. It's just a very thick O-ring, but go in there with a pick. Try not to scratch up the plastic. You don't have to worry too much right now because you're replacing these O-rings. But go ahead and get these removed. Might be a good idea to just take this time to wipe down the grooves and everything and just kind of make sure there's no debris or anything in here. And with the filter, there are new O-rings to replace. It's a good idea, and you really should put some fresh oil on these before installing them. I'm going to start with the two bigger ones. Just a little bit of oil, just coat the O-ring, work it down, ideally work it to the upper of the two grooves. Make sure it is in all the way around. Same process for the next one. Again, a little bit of oil on it, just make sure that it is lubricated. Will help with sealing. Lastly, we've got the little small O-ring here. This one's a little bit harder to get on. Took some work, but I eventually got the large O-ring on. Very helpful, as I said, to have a non-pointed tip pick to kind of work it on there, maybe a small flathead screwdriver. Last step is just putting the oil filter back on. I always put the letter side up. It shouldn't really matter. Slide it on, push down, give it a little tug, just make sure it's actually on the filter itself. Next step, I'm just going to, as I said, make sure there's oil on this, and then I'm going to go reinstall this into the motor. 24 newton meters plus or minus 2 newton meters is the torque spec. And that's it, 24 newton meters, not very tight. Next step, reinstall your dipstick. And grab your funnel of choice and fill the engine up. Should be 6 quarts to fill. And that's it. Really easy. Truck was on the ground the whole time. I never had to lay down or do anything crazy to get underneath, drain it, or deal with the huge mess that apparently the oil plug is on these trucks. Super easy. Always double check your oil after you've driven it a little bit and make sure that your oil level's good. Also a good idea to log everything in the Ford app if you've got that, just so that there's no concerns in the future of when you do an oil change. That's it. If there are any questions, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, and check back in for some future updates.